Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India, India's voice to the world. This is NewsHour. I'm Mark Lynn. Namaskar. Coming up in the next hour. Protests continue in Bangladesh over job quota issue. Curfew is imposed across the country. The death toll has crossed 100 in the last 4 days. Over 800 Indian students have returned from Bangladesh. Demonstrations against agro-industry water reservoirs continue in western France for the second day. The French police have used tear gas and water cannons to disperse the protesters. India's Prime Minister Modi speaks to New Zealand counterpart Christopher Luxon, and they reiterate their firm commitment to take bilateral cooperation to new heights. India and Bhutan's foreign secretaries co-chair the third India-Bhutan development cooperation talks for the 13th five-year plan. The foreign secretaries also inaugurate 19 schools constructed with Indian assistance. And tensions in Bangladesh have escalated as clashes between student protesters and the police continue, leading to over 100 deaths in the past 4 days. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has called for talks amid a countrywide curfew and the deployment of the country's army. Here's the full story.
The unrest in Bangladesh continues despite Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's call for talks with protesting students. With the death toll climbing and police and other security forces unable to contain the protest, Hasina's government imposed the national curfew and deployed the military. Clashes between student protesters and police have resulted in over 100 deaths in the last 4 days. With hundreds injured in Dhaka and other parts of the country, internet and text message services have been suspended since Thursday. Protesters are demanding the state stop setting aside 30% of government jobs for the families of people who fought in the 1971 War of Independence from Pakistan. Due to the seriousness of the situation, Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has postponed her planned visit to Spain and Brazil. The Appellate Division of Bangladesh Supreme Court will hear the quota matter on Sunday. India's Minister of State for External Affairs, Kirti Vardhan Singh, has expressed concern over the continuing protest in neighbouring country.
उसमें कोई दो राय नहीं है कि अगर हमारे भारतीय नागरिक या बच्चे हैं उनको सुरक्षित यहाँ ले जाएगा, उसमें कोई ऐसी बात ही नहीं है.
People from Bangladesh crossed the border to India as deadly protest against government job quotas persist. The people entered India through the borders at neighbouring states of West Bengal and Tripura and went through a series of security checks upon their arrival. Nearly 1,000 students have returned home through various land ports and flights since the violence began.
The situation in Bangladesh is getting worse. It is horrific. Jails, factories and vehicles have been put on fire. Prisoners were burned to death. Roads were also destroyed. Buses, many other vehicles and houses have also been destroyed and torched by the protests. There is nothing left.
Hasina's government had scrapped the quota system in 2018, but a court reinstated it last month. That prompted students to protest across the country. Bureau Report, DD India.
Well, let's rewind a bit and see what's the cause of all the unrest in Bangladesh. This report has the key concerns.
Why are students protesting in Bangladesh? It's been sparked by a court order. On 5th of June, the High Court ruled on petition filed by the children of nationally recognized freedom fighters. The court restored 30% reservation and struck down a government circular, which in October 2018 had scrapped freedom fighter and other quotas. The students and teachers want quotas to be capped at 10%. The protesters have clashed with police and Bangladesh Chhatra League, which is the students' wing of the ruling Awami League party. The government says it agrees with the students and has appealed to the Supreme Court, which has suspended the High Court order. It will now hear the matter on August 7. Prime Minister Hasina has urged protesters to be patient until then. But it's a July 14 statement of Prime Minister Hasina that has irked them. She's seen to have equated them with Razakars. Razakars were mercenary collaborators of Pakistan who led a brutal campaign against Bangladeshis in 1971, resulting in the deaths of 3 million Bangladeshis. This violence is now being driven by wider economic discontent, high inflation, growing unemployment, shrinking forex reserves. The 30% quota for freedom fighters is not all. There are 10% quotas each for women and backward districts, 5% for members of tribal communities and 1% for persons with disabilities, taking the total reservation to 56%.
How can the government run these attacks? We have been saying since the beginning that we our students belong to general category. It is a matter of common sense that over 50% of the jobs cannot be given away to quota holders. A normal state cannot be run like this.
The Bangladesh Bureau of Statistics data shows 1.8 million to 1.9 million young people joining the job market every year. Government jobs are highly coveted as they promise stability and a guaranteed income. Bureau Report, DD India.
And Prasenjit Bakshi is joining us from neighboring Kolkata. He joins us with more. He's following the story closely. Prasenjit, what's the update on the movement restrictions between India and Bangladesh?
Look, Mark, let me update one thing first. We have certain railway services from India to Bangladesh, namely Maitri, Mitali, Bandhan. These are the Bengali language of friendship. So these trains are suspended, one yesterday and other two from today for indefinite period. So in that way, the normal movement from India to Bangladesh and the other way is now stopped. Bus service is also there. I think officially we have not received any information, but possibly bus service is also getting halted from tomorrow. So from different parts, from Agartala, from Jalpaiguri, from Kolkata, so all these services are going to stop. Because these buses or train, they are not able to reach to its destination there. This is number one. Number two, there are a lot of land ports starting from the southern Bengal to extreme Meghalaya or Tripura even and the northern part of West Bengal. So people are coming from Bangladesh, basically the students, as all of us know, that more than 8,000 students are there in Bangladesh from different states of India, mainly for the medical education. They are now one by one or in a group coming back through different borders. And India government has given a particular order to immigration, to BSF and other officers to facilitate all these students who are coming back. Even India is helping those students from Nepal, Bhutan and even Maldives.
Right. Prasenjit, also, how is the situation, being viewed in West Bengal, where you are, in Assam and Tripura, these states which are bordering Bangladesh?
Look, this is a very critical situation, I must say, that as you know that from all these states like West Bengal, Tripura, Assam and Meghalaya, culturally these states are connected to Bangladesh, and even in a family relation, many people of this part of the country, they have their relatives there or any known persons there or friends and other persons there in Bangladesh. And the problem is that from yesterday, connectivity is absolutely zero. We must say that there is no internet, there is no telephone, and even the SMS is not properly getting delivered on either side. So the problem is that information is very minimal in those who are crossing border. They are giving some information, and we are getting some SMSs which are getting delivered after 2 hours, after 3 hours, like that. But as we have come to know that the government there has imposed curfew in the entire country, but even then incident of firing, incident of other destruction is going on. But till tomorrow, hope for the best, because Supreme Court will have their whatever the cases pending before them. Tomorrow there will be their session on this issue. Mark.
Right. A final question, Prasenjit. I mean, internet services, all these other services, even television channels have been shut down. So what about, I mean, the channels that are coming from India? After all, it's very close by. Are they sort of also in a way jammed or shut down, or even let's say mobile towers which are in Indian territory, are they being able to be accessed?
Something is happening that the major TV channels or the newspapers even who run digital platforms, they are using sat phone, because in this situation it is really challenging, as we all work for a television channel, and we know how important is the communication. So some of the television channels and newspapers, they are using sat phones to communicate with their reporters of different districts there, different major towns there, cities there. Somehow they are publishing their editions, somehow they are broadcasting their material in a 24/7 channels. But unfortunately, day before yesterday, BTV, the official TV of Bangladesh, national broadcaster of Bangladesh, they had to stop their telecast for a couple of hours because the protesters entered into the office and had some firing incident. But otherwise they are trying their best. But the major problem is that due to curfew and due to a scary situation, public transport is absolutely zero, number one. Number two, the transportation of the essential commodities, that is also that is also affected. So people are suffering from getting their daily bread and butter.
Right, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much, Prasenjit Bakshi. Thank you for joining us from Kolkata with that update. Still to come here on DD India News Hour. A highway bridge collapses in Shanxi province in China northwest, killing 11 people. Japan, Germany and Spain hold joint air defense exercise. The African Union convenes its 6th mid-year coordination meeting in Accra in Ghana. As the world gears up for the biggest sporting extravaganza, Olympics 2024, we at DD India are all set to bring you reports, reactions and all the latest action from Ground Zero. Watch DD India's super exclusive show, Cheer for Bharat. Only on DD India from July the 22nd at 6:30 p.m. IST, 1 p.m. GMT. Get ready to cheer for Indian athletes at the Paris Olympics 2024. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn. The African Union has convened the 6th mid-year coordination meeting that brings together the African Union, the regional economic communities, the regional mechanisms, as well as the African Union member states on the 21st of July 2024 in Accra in Ghana. So what's happened is that this meeting will be convened under the AU theme of the year 2024 on education, educate and skill Africa for the 21st century. The media coordination meeting is intended to assess the status of continental integration as well as to coordinate efforts to accelerate the integration process. It also aims to identify areas of cooperation and to establish mechanisms for regional, continental and global cooperation in each sector and subsector. So at the conclusion of this media coordination meeting, a declaration will also be adopted. The 6th media coordination meeting was preceded by the 45th ordinary session of the Executive Council, which took place from the 18th to the 19th of July 2024. That two-day ministerial meeting, it considered budget matters and adopted the African Union budget for the year 2025. It also discussed security status on the continent and peace financing mechanisms. Progress also on the implementation of the African Union theme for the year 2024 on education. And DD India correspondent Nabil Ahmed Rufai is joining us from Accra in Ghana. Thank you very much, Nabil. So the theme is education. Tell us more about, the artificial intelligence policy that seems to have been looked at by the African Union.
Well, indeed, the artificial intelligence strategy that has been adopted by the AU actually provides a clear roadmap as to how the continent would want to tap into that technology to improve its socioeconomic development. Now, there has been key issue as to the unethical use of artificial intelligence. So this new strategy adopted by the AU would really spell out how the technology can be used without infringing the rights of people on the continent and also protecting their identity, their culture, and also their dignity. Now, we know that the African Union says it has forwarded the strategy to the United Nations to clearly let the United Nations know the position of Africa on the use of AI, and it's something that is going to be under consideration. But more importantly, they've resolved to really look at how they can best use artificial intelligence to promote development in various aspects of the continent's economy.
Also, Nabil, how serious is the issue of shortage of teaching staff in Africa? And how does the union hope to increase the numbers?
Well, the AU has identified the deficit in teachers across the continent to be 15 million. So that's quite a staggering number. And the AU says it is actually concerned about the deficit and would want to coordinate resources within the member countries to see how best teachers will be trained to be able to bridge that deficit. So aside that, there's also an issue of harmonizing the kind of teaching and training that people get from different African countries. So we were speaking with the AU Commissioner in charge of Education, Science, Technology and Innovation, and he said there are efforts being put in place by the AU to really harmonize the teaching and learning that goes on across the country, so that when there is a particular quality in South Africa, that same quality will be expected in a country like Ghana or Nigeria or other African countries. So the deficit in terms of teachers on the continent is a big worry for the AU, and they're saying that they would want to do everything they can to really bridge that deficit.
Okay, thanks very much, Nabil Ahmed Rufai in Accra. Thanks for being with us. So the Republican nominee for the US presidential election, Donald Trump, is going to hold a campaign rally on Saturday. This is the first time since he narrowly escaped that assassination attempt about a week ago. And he's fresh also from his nominating convention where he took over the Republican Party. Or in fact, he didn't really quite take over, but he was formally made the party candidate for the presidential election. Trump is going to appear in Grand Rapids, which is a battleground state of Michigan. And along with his new vice presidential pick, the Ohio U.S. Senator J.D. Vance. It will be their first campaign event together as the now official Republican presidential ticket. Trump and Vance will take the stage in Grand Rapids with the Republican Party unified behind them after this week's nominating convention. In contrast, what's happening with the Democrats? They are in turmoil, and it is no longer certain whether the president incumbent, Joe Biden, is going to be the Democratic Party nominee who is going to face Trump on the November 5 election date. Biden is facing mounting calls from many elected officials within his party, and also White House to actually, withdraw from the race and to end his re-election bid after his poor debate performance against Trump last month, and ever since then his health concerns. Biden is trailing in opinion polls and is behind in a lot of the swing states as well against Trump. Many Democrats fear that he may have virtually no path to victory and that the party needs a new presidential candidate, a vibrant one, to take on Trump. As the Russia-Ukraine conflict entered day 876 on Saturday, Russian drones and missiles struck overnight in Ukraine, killing 2 civilians and hitting energy facilities and railway infrastructure across the country. The regional governor of the Kharkiv region said that Iskander missiles targeted an infrastructure facility in the small town of Bavan Kov in the northeast. It killed 2 people and injured 3 others. He said that 50 residential houses and administrative and commercial buildings were damaged in the strike. The Ukrainian Air Force said that Russian forces launched 4 ballistic Iskander missiles in the overnight attack. The Ukrainian Air Defense failed to shoot them down. The Air Defense shot down 13 of 17 Russian drones over 5 regions in the east, north and center of the country. The Ukrenergo, the national grid operator, has said that the drones attacked electricity distribution facilities in the central Poltava region, in northeast and in the northern Chernihiv region. The Russian forces have stepped up missile and drone attacks on Ukrainian energy infrastructure since March. It's knocked out about half of the available energy generation and has forced extended blackouts for millions of people. In the latest updates on the Israel-Hamas conflict, the U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken has said that a long-sought ceasefire between Israel and Hamas is within sight, and he said that negotiators are driving down that road.
We have an agreement to the framework the President put out by both Israel and Hamas. The question now is finishing the negotiation of some critical details. They signed on to the framework, right, and that's what's so important. But there remain some issues that need to be resolved, that need to be negotiated. We're in the midst of doing exactly that.
The French police used water cannons and tear gas to disperse climate activists in western France. They are opposing the construction of water reservoirs for agricultural use. The 3,000 odd protesters include environmental activists. Here's the report.
Protests continued for second day in France as police used tear gas to disperse climate activists gathered in western France. The protesters, who marched in a port in La Rochelle on Saturday, were met by heavy riot police presence. Protesters are opposing the agro-industry practices and the building of water reservoir for agricultural use, saying storing groundwater in the open exposes it to evaporation and potential contamination by algae and bacteria.
We are asking to stop agro-industry, everything that goes against living things, everything that destroys living things, and the hoarding of water and wealth.
I'm here so that things change, that agriculture changes, and that the way of life is much better respected, that we take living things into account.
Early on Friday, several thousands of anti-basin protesters gathered to protest in the Sawant area where the project is planned. The basins, located in Doordarshan department in the west and heavily financed by the French state, are designed to store water in winter in order to irrigate crops during increasingly dry summers. Protesters are saying storing groundwater in the open exposes it to evaporation and potential contaminations by algae and bacteria. First planned in Sawant, near a reserve whose construction is due to begin in the coming weeks, the gathering finally relocated to NEWSHOUR, nearly 50 kilometers away from the construction site. Protests against a similar project in March of 2023 had left scores injured, including several critically as police repelled protesters trying to reach the Soli construction site in the same region. Dheeraj Das, DD, India.
Well, floods caused by torrential rain in China's northeastern Shaanxi province severed a highway bridge in Shangluo city on Friday, with the death toll rising to 12. According to CCTV, 17 cars and 8 trucks were confirmed to have fallen into the water. 31 people were reported missing. Soldiers conducted search operations along the river, and firefighters rescued people trapped in their homes. President Xi Jinping of China urged all-out rescue efforts, stating that China is in a critical period for flood control and that local governments must take responsibility to enhance monitoring and early warning. Japan's Air Self-Defense Force and the German, French and Spanish Air Forces began joint exercises in the airspace around Japan on Friday. These exercises are a show of force against China. According to Japanese state media, it's the first time that Spanish aircraft have taken part in drills in Japan. The drills include the Eurofighter Typhoon jets from Germany and Spain and the Rafale fighter jets from France. New Zealand's Prime Minister Christopher Luxon called Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Saturday. He congratulated him for being re-elected in the elections recently held in India. They talked on ways to advance cooperation and trade, animal husbandry, pharmaceuticals, education, space and other areas. Prime Minister Modi thanked his counterpart from New Zealand and he said that they're looking he thanked him for looking after the interests of the Indian diaspora there. Prime Minister Luxon assured him of their security and well-being as India-New Zealand ties are anchored in shared democratic values and close people-to-people ties. There is enough potential for growth of bilateral cooperation to new heights in the years to come. India's Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri and his Bhutanese counterpart Om Pema Chodin co-chaired the third India-Bhutan Development Cooperation talks for the 13th five-year plan. This happened on Saturday. They reviewed the implementation modalities, cooperation in diverse areas of the development partnership. This is under the 13th five-year plan period, and a total of 61 projects, which amounts to 49.58 billion in Bhutanese currency, covering sectors such as connectivity, infrastructure, energy, skill development, education, health. They were approved by the two sides. The two sides also expressed satisfaction at the large number of Indian-Bhutan development projects. These were implemented under the 12th five-year plan. The two foreign secretaries also virtually inaugurated 19 schools in Bhutan, which were constructed during the 12th five-year plan period. So still to come here on DD India News Hour. We're going to have an in-depth discussion with an expert on why these students are protesting in Bangladesh and what can be done.
While there's still enough food for everyone on the planet, food shortages are a real problem. Let's take a look at the factors causing this and what can be done to save our food.
What we host now, it's called Farm School. One of the goals is to teach them agriculture so that 50 years from now, when there's so much change in climate, they don't have to deal with learning two new skills.
We empower women who are really poor and who don't have too much economic empowerment to eat better.
We adopt this strategy in our product. The volatile compounds induce the defence mechanism and help to prolong shelf life by 2 more days. So it's purely natural.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn. And we're privileged to have with us Ambassador Veena Sikri. She's a former Indian High Commissioner to Bangladesh and a well-known voice on international affairs. Thank you, ma'am, for being with us. So, how fair, do you think this reservation system is in Bangladesh? But I mean, the court ruled on it. So, how much affirmative action do you think was going to be achieved through it?
I think that we have to recall a little bit the background to this affirmative action program that Bangladesh had been following. Way back in 2018, when Sheikh Hasina was still the Prime Minister, of course, at that time, there had been students' protests against the reservation system. Now, in Bangladesh, over the years, the reservation for various categories for admission into the Bangladesh Civil Service, the BCS, had gone up as high as 56%. So that means there was just 44% available for the general categories, and the students in 2018 protested against it. At that time, Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina removed all reservations in the Bangladesh Civil Service entrance examination. So actually she had already taken away these reservations. For 6 years, there was no reservation at all in Bangladesh for entry into the civil service. However, a case had been filed against the government's decision to remove the reservations. And in June of this year, that is last month, the High Court gave a decision against the government, saying that the government had been incorrect in removing all reservations, and actually that this should not have been done, it's unconstitutional and so on. So the students' protests, which began last month and went on into this month, were actually against the High Court decision. They were not against Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. And not only that, Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's government had appealed against the High Court decision to the Supreme Court of Bangladesh, saying that these reservations should not be there, that the decision of the High Court was incorrect. And the Supreme Court hearing is going to begin tomorrow. In all probability, there will be a stay against the High Court decision. So I think that this is the confusion, as though Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has been preventing the students from getting their way. Rather, Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has been saying that let the Supreme Court take action, and I'm sure there will be a decision, she said, which will please everybody. Now, in the meanwhile, what happened, that on return from her visit to China, she gave a press conference in which, in response to repeated questions about the reservations, she said, yes, of course, reservations had been made for children of freedom fighters who fought and gave our country our independence. And these are the category which deserves reservation rather than the Razakars. Now, the moment she used the word Razakars, I think the political parties came onto the scene then, and Shibir, the students wing of the Jamaat-e-Islami, and then the Chhatra League, and then the BNP students, all of them, and that has caused this tremendous loss of life, even policemen. So that's been the reason.
Indeed. So the court, ma'am, is seized of the matter, and the earlier order has been scrapped for the time being. But do you see, this protest movement, actually, you did mention about the comment that she made and how it's affected people. But there's also perhaps a possibility that they're continuing this protest, even though she's urged them not to put pressure on the Bangladesh Supreme Court to rule in a particular way.
What I understand is that the students' groups, some of them, the student groups are actually party to the government case in the Supreme Court. So I think now the students' problem will not be so much, but because the political parties have entered the fray, the the violence on the ground, the loss of life is because of these political parties. I don't know if you heard that today, even in London, where, as you know, the Tariq Rahman, the leader of the Bangladesh National Party, had been there for the last 15 years in London. Even in London, there was a clash between the supporters of the Awami League and the supporters of the BNP, the other political party. So there was loss of life probably there itself in London, in Whitechapel. So clearly, the political issues have now taken the upper hand, and that is why Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's government has ordered such stringent action. The army has been called out to control the situation. There's a curfew, there's a blackout in communications, internet is down, mobiles are down, newspapers are not being able to update. So all this is to curb the situation on the ground, which has been one of extreme violence. Yesterday, as you know, they even went and burnt a jail in Narsingdi, a town in the center of Bangladesh, and released about 100 odd prisoners and, set fire to the building. So this is a kind of arson.
Yes, it's a law and order problem. But do you foresee, I mean, if the court, the protesters, some reports suggest that they don't mind, all reservations being capped at 10%. They don't want this 56% is way too high.
Yes.
Do you see, that in any case, they have about 10% reservation for women. How do you view this?
Affirmative action programs are different in every different country. Even in America, they have their own affirmative action programs, and so they do in our country as well. In every country, there are different reasons, historical reasons, social reasons, socio-economic reasons why the reservations have come into place. But the students from the beginning had not asked for scrapping the reservation system. They'd always asked for reform of the quota system. So I think that reform is very much on the cards, and they will surely, in consultation with the student groups themselves, they will surely come to a decision. I think there will be something kept for maybe the children of freedom fighters, but you have to see whether the creamy layer should not be included. All those considerations are there, but I'm sure they will come to some kind of a positive decision which will meet all interests and will stop the students protesting. But the political parties that are now on the streets, this is a worrisome situation, because the BNP, for example, they didn't take part in the last election, and they probably are feeling sorry that they didn't take part, and they're trying to force a regime change through the streets. Now, any government would certainly take strong action against that, and as we can see from the visuals you're showing, that it's calm now. There's no violence, much less violence today than yesterday, because yesterday they had said a lot of policemen were injured and lost their lives. So that shows that it's political parties who are doing it. And we hope that the situation comes under control very soon.
So how, when a situation goes out of control like this, and there is a possibility of an influx into India, how should our border states deal with it?
Well, this is, of course, Bangladesh is our nearest neighbor. We share a 4,000-kilometer border with Bangladesh. So obviously, this is a very real and present danger. In the first instance, the government of India had been concerned about the large number of Indian nationals in Bangladesh, about 50,000 in all, 8,500 of them students. We know that almost 1,000 students have come back to India, and the High Commission of India in Dhaka, as well as the Assistant High Commission offices in 3 other cities are doing their best, 4 other cities are doing their best to help the Indian nationals come back to India. So that's our first concern. But other than that, this is an internal matter of Bangladesh. These are their students in their universities. We are watching it very carefully. We are concerned about the violence, and we are certainly concerned there should be no spillover at all across the border. So everybody at the border, the BSF, as being shown in the visuals, is maintaining a very clear, very clear watch and careful watch on the situation. But we are sure that, Bangladesh is a very friendly country. If there's a problem there, the Prime Minister will be in touch, and we are always in touch with them. There will be no problem. We are quite sure of any spillover of any kind. Even the Bangladesh government would not want that at all.
Ambassador Veena Sikri, thank you very much for being with us. Now, India's Ministry of Health and Family Welfare issued a statement refuting certain media reports. These reports had highlighted findings from a paper published today in the academic journal Science Advances regarding life expectancy during the COVID-19 pandemic in India in 2020. The ministry said that these reports are based on untenable and unacceptable estimates. As per the Health Ministry, excess mortality reported in the Science Advances paper in 2020 over the previous year is a gross and misleading overestimate. The Health Ministry criticized the study as erroneous, citing critical flaws in methodology and inconsistent, unexplainable claims. According to the Health Ministry, discrepancies between the study's findings and established COVID-19 mortality patterns further undermine the study's credibility, and that the study fails, in fact, to acknowledge India's robust civil registration system, which recorded a substantial increase in death registrations in 2020, not solely attributable to the pandemic. The Director General of the Indian Council of Medical Research, Dr. Rajiv Bhail, has questioned the sampling method of the study on this excessive COVID deaths.
The most important flaw is that only a very small part of the National Family Health Survey, which was conducted in some households in 14 states between the month of January 2021 to about April 2021, that sample of households has been taken to compare deaths that occurred during those households in 2020 compared to 2019 and 2018. And taking that sample, that data has been projected to the entire country. The civil registration system, which in India is an extremely robust system now and covers more than 99% of all deaths, reports only 4,75,000 extra deaths in 2020 compared to 2019. Now data is available also from the sample registration survey, which clearly shows that the mortality in 2020 was 6 per 1,000, which was similar to what was seen in 2019 at 6 per 1,000.
With a step towards greener and more affordable energy, India's Petroleum Minister Hardeep Singh Puri participated in discussions on the future of oil and gas sector in the country. The event was held in Bengaluru in Karnataka on Saturday, and the discussions focused on strategizing India's energy mix for 2040 and creating an energy security fund for companies. So topics discussed included sources, value chain, domestic and international reserves, and the way forward for Indian oil companies to engage in mining and rare earth minerals. The first edition of the Readers' Conclave by MATI. It was held today in collaboration with IGNCA at New Delhi. Speaking on the occasion, it's the inaugural session of this two-day conclave. The chief guest, India's G20 Sherpa, Amitabh Kant, said that the message of books is simple, a message of knowledge and enrichment. It helps to enlighten one's thinking and move towards one's goals. And he said that we must, in this mental and spiritual dialogue, share our reading experiences with others.
Books are a very immersive experience. We need to move away from just being digital, being in the Twitter age of 60 words, because we need to apply our mind. If we want to transform India, if we want to bring back the golden age of India, then book reading is a must, both for historical reasons, for cultural reasons, for economic growth. Books are very critical, and therefore a book sammelan of this nature is very, very important. And we need to inculcate reading habits by ensuring that we open up library in every district, every panchayat of India.
Well, heavy rains continue to batter Mumbai for the third consecutive day. The fury of the rains has brought the city to a standstill, disrupting public transport services, causing inconvenience to countless commuters. Mumbai and Palghar, they are under yellow alert. Thane faces a more severe orange alert. Mumbai's public transport services were significantly impacted. The incessant rain has led to waterlogging on roads and railway tracks, causing delays in suburban train services. In Gujarat, the coastal districts of Saurashtra continue to witness heavy rainfall for the past 2 days, leading to a flood-like situation in low-lying areas. Devbhoomi, Dwarka and Porbandar were also affected. Districts are recording more than 20 inches of rainfall in the last 36 hours. The Indian Meteorological Department has predicted heavy to very heavy rainfall in 9 districts of Saurashtra and South Gujarat region in the next 2 days. Heavy rains also battered several parts of Chhattisgarh, creating a flood-like situation in some areas. Some more stories from India. And the Kerala Health Minister, Veena George, on Saturday confirmed that Nipah infection has taken place in a 14-year-old boy from Malappuram district. The Minister George, who has talked to the media in Malappuram, said that Pune's National Institute of Virology confirmed the infection in the boy, who is currently under treatment at a private hospital. After the detection, 214 people have been put under observation, 60 in a high-risk category. India's Home Minister, the senior BJP leader, Amit Shah, addressed the BJP State Working Committee in Ranchi in Jharkhand. He did so on Saturday. The minister commended the party workers for their hard work. As Indian Coast Guard ships battle to extinguish the fire aboard MV Maersk's Frankfurt, the Indian Coast Guard helicopters have joined the effort. An ICG ALH helicopter has airdropped approximately 150 kilograms of dry chemical powder onto the fire to prevent its spread. Still to come here on DD India News Hour. The IOC President Thomas Bach says the stage is set for the Paris Olympics. Over 100 heads of state and government are to attend the July 26 opening ceremony.
As the world gears up for the biggest sporting extravaganza, Olympics 2024, we at DD India are all set to bring you reports, reactions and all the latest action from Ground Zero. Watch DD India's super exclusive show, Cheer for Bharat. Only on DD India from July the 22nd at 6:30 p.m. IST, 1 p.m. GMT. Get ready to cheer for Indian athletes at the Paris Olympics 2024.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn. Well, on this day in 1974, Turkey invaded Cyprus. The United Nations now controls a buffer zone between the two sides, scattered with several checkpoints. However, Turkish Cypriots, they have celebrated 50 years since the invasion, and Greek Cypriots mourn this day. Mihir Mekuri looks at this unresolved conflict through the eyes of the 1968 airport that still seems to be a remnant.
July 20 marks the 50th anniversary of a Turkish invasion of Cyprus after a brief Greece-inspired coup, resulting in the island's division and one of the world's longest diplomatic stalemates. But at the Nicosia International Airport, time has stood still ever since. Built in 1968, this airport witnessed some of the fiercest battles between Greek Cypriot troops and the invading Turkish army in 1974, leading to the United Nations assuming control of the area under a ceasefire.
It's actually frozen in time, and the world of aviation, the world of airports have moved on since then. Although there were several attempts over the years by the sides to reach an agreement, to see the airport being reopened, restored, rehabilitated, the sides were unable to reach an agreement.
Now the only sign of life these days is the cooing of pigeons, roosting in its decaying ceiling. After 50 years, differences still persist between the two sides, illustrated by air raid sirens wailing across Cyprus's divided capital Nicosia at dawn as Greek Cypriots mourned.
Our mission is the liberation, reunification and solution of the Cyprus problem. If we really want to send a message on this tragic anniversary and really honor all those who sacrificed themselves in order for us to exist today, it is to do anything possible to reunite our homeland.
On the other hand, Turkish Cypriots celebrated 50 years since Turkey invaded part of the island in response to a brief Greek-inspired coup.
We cannot get anywhere by ignoring the realities on the island. We believe that a federal solution in Cyprus is not possible.
With peace talks stalled for decades, the prospect of reconciliation remains uncertain, with only time to tell. Mihir Makuri's report for DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. Time now for the sports news. And the Spanish national Manala Marquez has was removed. The All India Football Federation announced the appointment after its executive committee meeting on Saturday, and the 55-year-old is currently the head coach of the Indian Super League side, the Football Club Goa. Marquez has been coaching in India since 2020. He has extensive knowledge and experience of Indian football and has also been coaching national players. Marquez has coached 2 Indian Super League clubs. He led Hyderabad Football Club to victory also in the 2020-21-22 season. The former world number 1, Rafael Nadal, reached the final of the Swedish Open on Saturday after he battled past Duje Adjukovic in a 3-set thriller. Nadal overcame Adjukovic 4-6, 6-3, 6-4 in a hard-fought encounter. The 22-time Grand Slam winner advanced to his first final since winning the French Open in 2022. Nadal faced another tough challenge from Adjukovic after his quarterfinals match. And Nadal, who won this tournament as a teenager in 2005, will compete for his 93rd singles title on Sunday. Nadal is using the tournament to prepare for the Paris Olympics. The IOC President Thomas Bach on Saturday said that the stage has been set now for the Paris 2024 Games, but the organizing committee remains vigilant 6 days before the Games start. Some 45,000 police will secure the Paris Olympics July 26 opening ceremony with over 100 heads of state and government set to attend. The ceremony, staged for the first time outside a stadium, is going to involve around 80 boats ferrying international athletes on a 6-kilometer route along the River Seine towards the Eiffel Tower. The athletes and the performers are going to sail past some of France's most stunning landmarks, and with more than 300,000 spectators expected to be watching live, real spectators, not on TV. So it's also a major security headache, especially at a time of this war in Gaza as well as in Ukraine.
What we can see here, and I'm here for more than a week, and wherever you come and go, you see that the lights are on green. The preparations are going very well. The stage is set, but we have an organizing committee which remains vigilant, which does not ignore any kind of challenges, which you always have. when you're organizing the most complex event in this world. And all this can give us really great confidence in looking forward to these games.
And the Indian ace badminton player, medal hopeful HS Pranoy, is seeking his first Olympic medal at the Paris Olympics. Pranoy's father, Sunil Kumar, talked to Doordarshan and he opened up expressing his optimism and gave some reasons for that.
Since when he was under 19 years, he started playing for India. He was waiting for so many years, you can say around 15-16 years, to get a chance to play for the Olympics. Now luckily this year he qualified and he was the first person from India to qualify in badminton. Then luckily he was in the main team of some of the major events like Thomas Cup, Asian Badminton Championship, World Championship. But after that again some of the problems came for him, especially some of the injuries. Then very recently he got chikungunya. Now he was under the treatment for almost for 10-15 days. And very lately he started now practicing, but now he's okay. He's playing very well because I had been there in Hyderabad for the last week, and he's really working hard to get a medal.
Well, with just 6 days to go for the much-awaited Paris Olympics 2024, we at DD India are gearing up for extensive coverage of the Paris Olympics. Watch our special broadcast, Cheer for Bharat, on, in fact, from Monday, July 22nd. We're going to bring you a preview of the Indian contingent, all the 16 disciplines that India is going to be participating. We're going to get you exclusive reports and much more.
As the world gears up for the biggest sporting extravaganza, Olympics 2024, we at DD India are all set to bring you reports, reactions and all the latest action from Ground Zero. Watch DD India's super exclusive show, Cheer for Bharat. Only on DD India from July the 22nd at 6:30 p.m. IST, 1 p.m. GMT. Get ready to cheer for Indian athletes at the Paris Olympics 2024.
Well, that's all we have in this edition of DD India News Hour. Let's know your thoughts on the news of the day. Those of you on the go, you can get the latest news and updates from across the world and in India on the DD India mobile app. The app's available both on Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code and download it. We'll be giving you more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Mark Lynn, and from all of us here in Delhi, thank you very much for watching this edition of DD India News Hour. Namaskar.